The witness, a Florida businessman and former FBI informant named William Douglas Campbell, was considered so unreliable that prosecutors dropped him as a witness in an unrelated case involving Russian uranium sales, according to the sources. But there are mounting questions about Campbell's credibility in light of his track record as an informant in a separate FBI investigation into a Russian businessman named Vadim Mikurin, who was in charge of U.S. operations for Tenex, a separate unit of Rosatom that was not involved in the Uranium-1 purchase. Court records and interviews with the sources who are familiar with the case indicate that Campbell provided key information to the FBI about a scheme orchestrated by Mikurin to collect kickbacks from American companies doing business with Tenex. The Bureau enlisted Campbell as an undercover informant, wearing a wire in his conversations with Russian officials. But he proved a disaster as a potential witness in the case when doubts arose about his descriptions of some events that could not be documented, one of the sources said. As a result, prosecutors dropped extortion charges against Mikurin that relied on Campbell's testimony. There was no question that Campbell's credibility was such that the prosecutors had to restructure the case, the source said. He got cut out of the case entirely. Mikurin pleaded guilty to the remaining money laundering charges in August 2015 and was sentenced to 4 years in prison, which he is still serving. "This is a smear job," Victoria Tonsing, Campbell's lawyer, told News Pulse News when asked about the doubts law enforcement officials had about her client's credibility. "That was not the reason prosecutors removed him as a witness against Mikurin," she said. "Instead, it was because the Obama administration didn't want to bring a big extortion case against Russia and risk testimony from Campbell that would have undermined the Uranium-1 sale and undercut the president's efforts to reset relations with Russia. So instead, they covered it up," she said. The questions about Campbell and his purported knowledge about the Uranium-1 sale have become a political lightning rod in recent weeks, with Democrats charging it is only being raised now to distract attention from special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into the Trump campaign and its ties to the Kremlin. The investigation that followed was a significant one, far more so than was publicly revealed at the time. The FBI was able to trace $2.1 million in bribes paid to Mikurin and others and wired to offshore shell companies in Cyprus, Latvia, and Switzerland. U.S. intelligence officials suspected but were never able to conclusively prove that these payments ultimately benefited entities connected to Vladimir Putin. But Campbell's importance to the Mikurin investigation faded after prosecutors discovered discrepancies in his account of his dealings with Mikurin and other Russian figures, sources said. Investigators also were unable to verify some of his more explosive allegations, including claims that he was threatened with violence if he did not participate in the scheme by helping to arrange kickbacks in exchange for contracts with Tenex. The doubts were serious enough that the U.S. Attorney's Office in Maryland, which was prosecuting Mikurin under the direction of then U.S. Attorney Rod Rosenstein, now the Deputy Attorney General, felt compelled to alert defense lawyers to them. There were also other questions about his background, including 2 DUI convictions in 2009 and 2012. Those problems were raised again last year when Campbell filed a lawsuit against Mikurin in federal court in Baltimore, accusing him of racketeering and seeking damages. At the time, Mikurin was already serving his sentence at a federal prison in North Carolina. Because legal proceedings were still pending against another defendant in the case, Justice Department prosecutors wrote to Campbell's then lawyer, accusing him of violating the terms of his agreement with the government. If he pursued the civil case, prosecutors threatened to reveal derogatory information to the judge about his dealings with the FBI and the U.S. attorneys. Campbell later dropped the suit. Tonsing, Campbell's lawyer, said that Campbell would be able to tell Congress that discussions about the Uranium-1 sale were raised by Russian officials during his dealings with them. But sources who spoke to News Pulse News said that during the course of hours of interrogations by the FBI and Justice Department lawyers, Campbell never mentioned any connection between Mikurin's dealings and the sale of Uranium-1. Nor did he ever volunteer that he had documents or information relating to the Uranium-1 sale. The issue, one of the sources said, never came up.